So, hi everyone. My name is Gabor Deveni, and thanks for Marilyn for inviting me to the meetup group to present. I think just mentioned here before the chat that this is the second time, and today, of course, I have a bunch of slides that I would like to go through just and talk about scams and security in this new world of cryptocurrencies, Web3, and blockchain. But I will also have some foundations, so some basic history. Hopefully that wouldn't be too boring. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask here, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, of course, you can comment there as well. I'm a lot more good looking on this photo. I just dressed up and shaved, not like today. My name is Gabor Deveni, and I live in Australia, Melbourne, Australia, but I'm originally from Hungary. I would say apologies about the accent, but it's some kind of a mix. I'm actually not working full-time in blockchain, so I have my day job. I'm working I'm as a consultant, working with agility, one of the other buzzwords that you probably heard a lot. But at night, or even as my hobby, I do a lot of blockchain-related work. I'm part of a couple of communities I've been advising, and that's how I know Marilyn. We used to work together at a Web3 startup. And you can find me on Twitter as DevTestRepeat, or also on LinkedIn, just my name. Also, I work on this side project called DELP. It's a decentralized education and learning platform, kind of a learning groups as DAOs, but that's just a side hustle. So, a couple of basic concepts you probably all know, like some of this might be boring, you might know, just wanted to kind of set the baselines when I talk about these different topics. Web3 and Web2, like we all know Web2. If you're as old as me, you remember Web1 when web just was new and people just put on static information. Web2 is a lot more interactive. These are your YouTubes, your Facebooks, where all the information stores in a centralized, on the servers of Facebook or whichever big company. They have somewhat limited user control, and this new generation of web is when we use blockchain as a technology behind the scenes. So your ownership is actually not with those big companies, and that's where NFTs come in and metaverses. I will not talk about that today, but pretty much that's the next generation of web, where you own the information and you own the assets outright. It's not with the big companies. That's the major difference. A couple of other basic things, cryptocurrencies. So again, a lot of people kind of say, oh, Web3, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is all the same. They are not the same. They are interrelated, but they are somewhat different. Bitcoin, obviously the first, well, it's actually not the very first cryptocurrency, but we usually say it's the first one. It's a peer-to-peer digital form of money. And it was the white paper was created back in 2008, I believe. The first block was created, I think, 2009. It's actually not the first cryptographically secure digital money. There were others in the past. Like with many other things, there are, we think it's new, it's not that new. Like the concepts existed way before, like even past century. We had DigiCash and DigiCash, and a lot of other tries. But back then, Bitcoin was born when we had the big crisis back in 2008, and everyone knows the story that it's a anonymous group probably, but with the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, created this yellow paper of Bitcoin, which is just peer-to-peer digital form of money. And Bitcoin is while it has a quite complex consensus algorithm and behind it, it's not a very smart cryptocurrency. So it's pretty much a form of money with a technology called blockchain behind it. But Bitcoin is very simple. It's just a distributed digital ledger. So what you see, the big new things here is that it's not the information about who owns how many Bitcoin is not on a central server. It's distributed across the network. And when you do a transaction, it's not just happening on one computer, it's happening in all the network. And the technology that they use behind is what they call blockchain. So blockchain is pretty much, it's a special form of database. I don't want to keep it too complicated. You have a block, and in the block you have a list of transactions and some other metadata. And the transactions are pretty simple. You have a public address sending, let's say, 1 Bitcoin to another public address, and it has a certain fee, which is relatively low. And you have thousands of transactions in one block. So this is just one block with a list of transactions and some metadata. And the metadata is like, the number of this block, the hash of this block. So they use cryptography to use they use SHA-256 to secure these blocks, and a link to the previous block. So pretty much what happens, like in this, let's say in this block, in the metadata, you have a hash of like an ID for this block, and you have a link to what was the previous block. And all of this is all distributed across the network. And that's pretty much, it's very simple. Imagine just blocks after blocks with a link to the previous one, and then it's all secured. I will not go into that because sometimes I can go really deep, and I know I don't want to go into proof of work and how the hashing works. For basically, it's a special form of database that is distributed on the internet. Now, what I mentioned, Bitcoin was very, very simple. It's all what it has is just a bunch of transactions, nothing, no logic, nothing whatsoever. It's secure, it's distributed, but there is not much you can do with it other than send money from one source to another and store that information on the net. Back again, this is not that long ago. There was a couple of people who went to this Bitcoin forum, and they said, oh, we have good ideas on how to make this Bitcoin even better. And they suggested new things that we can put in more logic. If you are a developer, Bitcoin is not written in a Turing complete language, and they suggested we can build so much on top of this. We could have like smart programmable money, not just a simple distributed ledger. But the Bitcoin community didn't necessarily like that idea, so they didn't want to do that. They wanted to keep Bitcoin relatively close to the roots. And this guy who you see on the screen, you probably know, Vitalik Buterin, and a couple of others, created a new, I wouldn't say blockchain. It's they call Ethereum, and Ethereum is more like a platform that you can build on top of. So Ethereum itself is a blockchain, and the big difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum that you can actually program Ethereum. So if Bitcoin is just simple digital money, peer-to-peer, Ethereum, I would call it in a layman's term, programmable money. So you can build on top of it. And what happened, of course, that gave a new, like developers started joining and building their own applications on top of Ethereum. And these applications, because they are not just stored on one server, they are distributed across the network. They call dApps, decentralized apps, and they use the programming language called Solidity for this. But the thing is, after Ethereum was born, of course, and they started building on top of Ethereum different dApps applications that became, they have their own tokens. So for example, I pick up, let's say, Aave. Aave is a lending application, a decentralized lending application on top of Ethereum, where you can actually lend or borrow money. And just checking, no one joined yet. Cool. So you can do these things on top of Ethereum. However, there were a few problems. Before I go into the problems, maybe I open up, do you know any other cryptocurrencies that you have heard of other than Bitcoin and Ethereum? Feel free to use the chat or just
Cardano.
Cardano, very good. So Cardano is another one, another platform that you can build on top of. Very good. Feel free to drop in any. No, that's fine. So even when blockchain was created, a lot of people started to have like, oh, blockchain is too slow, and sorry, Bitcoin is too slow. There is some chat. Thank you. Yeah, Pepe, very good. Pepe is a brand new one, and I think it was just created in April, 15th of April or something like that. So it's like a month ago, and it's going crazy. And very interesting that you mentioned Pepe, because I will show you a couple of things that how people today create these new tokens out of nowhere. Back then it was a little bit more difficult. So when people wanted to make a faster Bitcoin, they started looking at like Litecoin, which was a fork, and it was faster. And the original meme coin was Doge, that was a fork of Litecoin. So even back then, people started, oh, let's do a better Bitcoin and a faster Bitcoin or a fun Bitcoin. And the same thing happened with Ethereum. So people thought Ethereum, again, while it's groundbreaking, it has its limitations. Like it's not as fast as some of the others. So there are so many, like thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies, and some of them are building on top of Ethereum, creating layer 2s that are faster, more scalable than Ethereum itself. There were new other networks that are using a different programming language. Let's say Solana, for example, is another where you can build on top of it. It's like a platform you can build on top of Solana, but it's using a different technology from Ethereum. And also there are other networks who started using slightly different technology from blockchain. So you might have heard of Hedera, that is using a different. It's not called blockchain. They use hash graphs, but it's a cryptographically secured way of storing information. So there are plenty. There are thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies. I would say this one, I just created a screenshot yesterday. This one shows that in the last half an hour, we have 30 new cryptocurrencies. So if you go into like a website called DexView or Dex Screener, you can see, and you click on new pairs, you would see how many new tokens. Actually, these are not the tokens, these are the liquidity pools that are created. But for this purpose, just remember the tokens. Now, the problem with this, I would say that 90% of this is scam. It's so easy to create a new token now on top of any network, whether it's Ethereum or Arbitrum or Polygon, Binance Smart Chain or Solana. It's so easy to create a new token. People create absolutely like it's, new scam tokens. So for example, very good that Zoom user mentioned Pepe. Pepe is of course based on a meme, like a nice frog, and it became very, very popular. Like if you bought Pepe a month ago for, let's say, $1,000, you could be a millionaire. I don't know exactly how many times it went up, but it's crazy. And because it's the Wild West, it attracts a lot of, I wouldn't say criminals or scammers, but the temptation is there to do something because it's easy money, right? So if you look at even just here on the names like BT Pepe, Flocky Pepe, Pepe Junior, and people, because they heard that, oh, you made so much money with Pepe, I want to buy the next Pepe. And people are, yeah, exactly as Matt said, there are a lot of degenerates and gamblers. Exactly. I'm part of a few communities, and definitely a lot of people are coming in that, oh, I want to get rich quick. So what they do, they go to a website here, they see that, oh, look at this, 1,000% in the last 1 hour. Let me quickly buy this one. And they buy, and sometimes they cannot sell because the smart contract is written in a way that you can buy, but if you want to sell, it's a 99% sell tax on it. Sometimes they allow it from, like the contract kills itself after a while because you can program everything in it. It's programmable money. So it's very easy to write these tokens in a way that they are getting a bit dodgy.